For me, coming from 15 years of professional academical kind of education in arts and, of course, high school education and so on, having met so many local to international teachers and so on, I think I have never met anyone who is like you, that literally looking at you without you saying anyone actually saying about you. It's so visible and clear that one of your purposes of life for sure is to teach, to guide people, to inspire people, to help them embrace themselves, the life, the profession they're learning for, the art or whatever. At the same time, you are already at the level of so many TV shows and theaters and big professional international projects, having traveled so much, and still after all of this, you're teaching beginners as well. Which is often actually a surprise for many people who come to us. And of course, those classes are so much different than what you would usually expect from beginner classes, with so much more depth and really not only depth, like completely different approach. So can you maybe share a little bit how you're taking it? What is interesting there for you? Because of course you're there as passionate and dedicated as in everything else. So can you a little bit share how you're doing that?
Okay, so before I say that how we're doing that, I'll say you're right actually about that, and what is the problem in that? Because first of all, most of the teachers, or most of us, when we get to a higher level, we make a circle of higher level, even in our friends. So in our students also, usually we are looking for like, if you're in a professor, you are not going to like teaching the primary, right? And of course, if you're a primary teacher, you'll not be able to teach in the professor level. So that doesn't come into the question. But right now we're talking about why this, if you're here, then also how you're able to teach to the beginners and so on. First of all, to understand that problems are like, because it will not be as beneficial for the teacher who is already in a good level to be able to teach beginners or primary level, because you're not getting utilized much. It will get, that's why, boring for you. And many times actually it happens, like many of the jobs people get, sometimes they don't get to their full potential, which is a job which is equivalent to their potential, and they might be ending up doing something like, might be a very good dancer, example, or an actor, but might be having less opportunities. So that can be there. Might be teaching dancer, a teacher, very good teacher, but might be teaching only primary level of students. I'm not saying kids, but primary level of students. So it can be, and that's why that becomes very frustrating also for them. So that's why when you get the chance, when you're going up, you choose to be only working with the professionals, because that's productive. You can get out the things fast. What you're explaining, because now you want the things to be understood in a different level, right? As a professor example. That's why mostly when we are in the upper level, first of all, we fail to reach the beginners. For me, it was opposite. Okay, for me, it was like in the beginning, of course, I did the same thing, was following the same as I am going up in my own career, in my own level, my surroundings and my students and all also professionals and upper level. But then I will be able to find the way for when I started teaching, I'll actually pick up teaching the beginners. Because the point was in the beginning the same. If I'm teaching the beginners, sometime when I'm going around in the workshops, traveling around in the other countries and so on, many times I'm getting groups with beginners or very low level. They are beginners level or very primary level. And I had to still teach them. So mostly it becomes for other teachers and all boring. But because I have all this other psychologies and all this other ethics that I have learned, philosophies, and I have mostly been using in my life myself, because I was able to harness the power that I learned from art. I learned from being a performer, not only as a part of my art, but a part of my life. Example, even if you're practicing communication, that will affect how you talk in your real life.
Definitely.
How, if you're dancing for a long time, it will affect your body in your real life, right? So just you tap to it and you can maximize that. This is already going to happen a little bit, right? But if you tap to that, you can maximize that. So because of that, in the beginners class, I was able to find more ways that through that also, I might be teaching a very basic thing, but the philosophy behind it can be way more bigger, and which can be even hard for professionals also.
Definitely.
So it becomes equivalent, whether you're a beginner or a professional, doesn't matter, because you are different by the physical level, but not the understanding of the things in the maybe in a more deeper way, in a more psychological way, spiritual way, but more active spiritual way. Not only like I'm talking about a spirituality or thinking about it, because you're able to implement it.
Yeah.
So this started making me more interested in the beginners. Then there are things that when you're teaching, there's two different kind of prize feeling. One is like when you're teaching the professionals, you're making them who is good better or better to even best. Yeah. And you're trying to create more artistic, more challenging. It's a creative hunger and satisfaction, right? But when you're teaching the beginners, it's a emotional satisfaction. Because you're able to inspire people who thought they can never do that.
Wow.
You opened so many blocks in them, they were never able to see it in their life. Normally, for that, sometimes they go to the psychologist.
Yeah.
Right? And actually, you can actually find it through dance and sports if you are using it mindfully. Same like sports. Even if you're having the sportsman spirit, it solves many of the things, how you look to the world, how you deal with the problems, how you take the problems also. Right? And that's why many just being a sportsman, if just not playing in the sports in the field, but when you have the sportsman spirit inside, already influences a person in their life. You see? But many people might be playing sports, but not everyone is getting the sportsman spirit in the same way, right? So when you are able to give this kind of spirit in them, move the blocks away. Somebody might be stressed in their life. Somebody might be blocked by their body, by their senses, by what they think, what they perceive to the world, and limited by their own thoughts about themselves. So that's another thing that you can unlock something like that, irrespective of which level my students are coming from.
Definitely.
Yeah, because I know professionals also who have might be good with the body and all, but not completely clear with their mind or psychology. I know
that happens all the time.
And but if you are able to use that example for me, I'll say I was able to be good in arts. That's how I was able to be good in any other subjects. I was able to pull from each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's what, for me, it makes me more even sometimes interesting for a beginner person to be able to change their life or direction even, and give them some senses or some feeling that they wouldn't have felt ever in their life, most probably. You just unlock it. They were living with it for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, because my students are even more older than them. And suddenly you untap them something that they have been missing for their whole life. So completely different prizes what you can get for teaching a professional for a prize, and unlocking people from their blocks and teaching more things. They're, expanding their limitations of their being in their life. That's why I love teaching beginners.
Wow.
And to be honest, even that exercises me, because then I have to also find, that's why for me, any more beginners classes are not boring or something. It's interesting because continuously it's exercising me. I have new things to give. People are different. They're not all coming from a dance background.
Yeah.
Right? They're not coming from one kind of styles, one kind of genres and all. All are mixed and all. So I have to adapt.
Yeah.
I had to get even interest of the people who are not so much interested, because they are just beginners, right? Yeah. Because you're already working with the professionals. They're already passionate. They already have many things. You have to generate the things from these people. So it's and that's why you will find who are mostly beginners teacher, they're not so much in the higher level. Yeah. If they're good in this, because that takes a different kind of work ethics to be champion, and who are professionals and champions when we are winning and all, because it takes this much of effort and all, we are not into
beginners
in this one, even though here might be more students and here might be less students. It doesn't matter, So these are the big differences. But if you can understand what I talked, you can be in every level of dancing or any kind of art form. Same formula.
Wow.